pediatrician.
Cheer for Goble, cheer for Goble. You can bet that Brewster's out to win today. Cheer for Goble, cheer for Goble. Follow Brewster and you'll never miss a play. Now just before the kickoff, everybody on your toes. Get ready to... Everyone set, here goes. G-O-B-B-E-L. Goble, Goble, 22. Cheer for Goble. Cheer for Goble when you want the finest brew. Cheer for Goble, cheer for Goble. You'll enjoy famous Goble 22. It's truly all-American and always sure to score. When you want the best, remember Goble costs no more. So call for Goble 22.
Hello, football fans. Your Goble football reporter, Van Patrick, speaking, inviting you to go back through the pages of the 1953 football season to enjoy once again all dramatic action as the Lions roared to their second consecutive professional football championship of the world. Ever wonder just what it is, fans, that makes the champion? Well, I've heard it best described as that little something extra, and all champions have it. Goble beer, for instance, with its amazing record of 11 high awards, won an international competition in Luxembourg, Antwerp, and Paris over the past 3 years, more than any other American beer. What is it about a glass of Goble that sets it apart from all others? Again, just that little something extra. Extra flavor, extra quality, and it's little extra satisfying. Yes, by any standards. If it's Goble, it's good. Now let's go back through the 1953 season as the Detroit Lions fought their way to the championship. Jim Leeming is your play-by-play commentator.
The world champion Detroit Lions opened their league season against the rough, tough Pittsburgh Steelers with a packed house to give them a good send-off. The Steelers start fast as Jim Fink connects with halfback Lynn Shadnoy on a 44-yard aerial maneuver that puts the ball on the Detroit 31. On the next play, Fink aims a toss at L.B. Nickel, but rookie fullback Lou Carpenter of the Lions short-circuits the spiral and behind perfect blocking legs it 73 yards for pay dirt. The conversion is good, and the Lions have an early 7-0 lead. Still in the first quarter, Detroit's Hunchy Horschmeyer fumbles, and Dale Dodrell recovers for Pittsburgh on the Lions' 25. After moving to the 14, Finks passes to L.B. Nickel for a Steeler tally. At the end of the first quarter, it's a 7-7 ball game. The Lions roar back. Signal caller Bobby Lane does a little throwing of his own. He connects with Doak Walker for 41 yards to the Steeler 29. A recovered fumble after the whistle is disallowed. Now Walker lugs the leather, and he threads his way for 11 yards to the Pittsburgh 1. It's fullback Gene Gedman's turn, and he bowls into the end zone for the touchdown. That gives Detroit a 14-7 lead. A field goal increases the Lion lead to 17-7. Then Steeler fullback Fran Rogel darts 18 yards for a first down on the Detroit 26. Advancing to the 14, quarterback Fink calls for a pass. He hits George Salima, but it's a hot potato, and finally his teammate Ray Matthews makes the grab for the TD. as Pittsburgh narrows the margin to 17-14. On the ensuing kickoff, Detroit's Doak Walker gathers in the pigskin on his own 5 and behind excellent blocking, scoots 55 yards all the way to the Steeler 40. It's into the end zone again for the Lions as Lane fires to big Leon Hart, and the 265-pound end lumbers 43 yards to another Detroit touchdown. And at the end of the first half, it's Detroit 24, Pittsburgh 14. In the third quarter, the Lions' Lane fades to pass. He hits Leon Hart, and this nifty play nets 36 yards as the men of Coach Buddy Parker have a first down on the Steeler 8. With the promised land in sight, Hunchy Horschmeyer unlimbers his pitching arm. Doak Walker makes the catch. One official claims he trapped it, but the referee calls it a touchdown, and it's his word that counts, and the Lions move into a commanding 31-14 lead. The defending champions just won't let up as Bobby Lane connects with his favorite receiver, Cloyce Box, and Box rambles to the Steeler 20 on the end of a 60-yard play. Pitching a beautiful ball game, Lane tosses to Horschmeyer for 19 yards and another Detroit touchdown. Walker converts, and it's now Lions 38, Steelers 14. With time running out, the Steelers' Teddy Marchibroda tosses to L.B. Nickel for 16 yards to the Lions 34. From the 15, Marchibroda connects with Nickel again for a touchdown, but that's all for Pittsburgh as the champion Lions open their season with a rousing 38-21 victory. In a night game at Baltimore's Municipal Stadium, the hard-riding Colts, who upset the Bears last week, took on the national champion Detroit Lions, who were also shooting for their second straight league win. Early in the first quarter, the Lions' Doak Walker swings wide around end, cuts in, gets by one man, but keeps on driving for 10 yards to the midfield stripe. Hunchy Horschmeyer then takes Lane's pitch out, cuts between two Colt defenders, stiff arms the safety man, waits for his blockers, and even though he's hit from behind, keeps right on his merry way to rack up 6 points for the Lions. Walker adds the point, and Detroit leads 7-0. In the closing minutes of the period, the Lions' Horschmeyer crosses up the defense by turning passer. The Colts' Tommy Keene, however, also pulls across by intercepting. About to go down, he laterals to Rekashar, who fumbles, but Rekashar recovers, and with the Lions closing in, laterals to Don Shula, who gets back to the 20 before the Detroiters end the chase. From the 25, Fred Enck unleashes a tremendous aerial into the waiting arms of George Taliaferro to complete a thrilling 53-yard play that puts the ball on the Detroit 22-yard stripe. Quarterback Enck then fires straight and true to Tommy Kelminer, who trips into the end zone for a Baltimore tally. Buck McPhail notches the point, and the Colts tie it up at 7-7. Both teams add a field goal to make it 10-up. Near the end of the half, a Bobby Lane pass is picked out of the air by Don Shula, and the Colts are deep in Lion territory. A penalty moves the Colts back to the 45. Then Fred Enck rifles a perfect pitch to Danny Edwards for 13 yards to the Lions' 32. From the 21, Enck races wide to the right and uncorks a touchdown aerial to George Taliaferro to give the upstart Baltimore Colts a 17-10 advantage over the defending National League champs at the end of the first half. Now get set for the most dazzling run of the game. Shortly after the kickoff, the Colts are forced to punt. Detroit's Yale Larry pulls it in on his own 25, eludes one man, cuts between two others, and with a burst of speed heads up the sidelines to outdistance all pursuers on a blinding 75-yard touchdown gallop. Walker converts, and the seesaw battle is all knotted up at 17 points apiece. Moments later, the Lions are roaring again. Tommy Dublinski now in at quarter can't find a receiver, so off he goes down the sidelines on a 13-yard gallop to the 23. 3 plays, net 8 yards. Then Doak Walker steps back and angles a perfect placement through the uprights to put the Lions on top 20-17. Shortly after the kickoff, the Colts set out to overcome the deficit. But there's a fumble, and the Lions' Jimmy Kane pounces on the pigskin to give Detroit the ball on Baltimore's 31-yard line. Dublinsky then pitches to Doak Walker, and the Doker puts on one of his famous broken field runs as he threads his way down the sidelines to the Colts' 13. With Dublinsky doing the firing, Notre Dame's big Leon Hart is on the receiving end, and the huge wingman fights his way all the way down to the 1-yard stripe. Hunchy Horschmeyer, the battering Hoosier, slams his way into the end zone for the score, and the Lions' 17-point third-period rally downs the surprisingly strong Baltimore Colts by a 27-17 score. The San Francisco 49ers and the Detroit Lions, the only 2 unbeaten teams in the Western Conference, meet head-on before a record throng of some 58,000 fans at Briggs Stadium in the Motor City. The huge crowd has hardly settled down before the Lions' Bobby Lane on the game's first play from scrimmage brings the crowd back to its feet with a 44-yard pass to Cloyce Box. The iron is hot, so the Lions strike. Lane pitches out to Doak Walker, who passes into the end zone. Cloyce Box flags the ball for a touchdown, and in a little more than a minute, the Lions have assumed a 7-0 lead. After the touchdown, Doak Walker kicks off for Detroit. Hugh McElhenney picks it up on the 8-yard line. Not only does he pick up the ball, but he also picks up the pace with a 54-yard race to the Detroit 38. After 3 plays failed to gain, Joe Perry attempts a field goal from the 45. The Lions' Laverne Torgerson blocks the placement. Blaine Aaron scoops it up and scurries all the way to the San Francisco 16. The Lions, too, are held at bay, and on 4th down, Doak Walker attempts a 23-yard field goal that's true blue. So after 4 minutes of play, Detroit has jumped away to a 10-0 advantage. The partisan Detroit crowd roars for more, but the 49ers have other ideas. Rex Burry intercepts Bobby Lane's pass and carries it back to the Detroit 30. Joe Arenas finds a hole in the left side of the line and slips through it for 7 yards. Quarterback Y.A. Tittle fires a bullet pass that hits the mark as Gordy Salto shags it for the score. At the end of the first period, it's Detroit 10, San Francisco 7. Bobby Lane opens the second period by passing for Detroit, but it's a 49er and not a Lion on the other end of the aerial as Lowell Wagner scurries back to the Detroit 21-yard line. 49er fullback Joe Arenas makes like a madman as he mauls the Motor City men on a 10-yard trip for a touchdown. San Francisco grabs the lead for the first time in the game, 14-10. The 49ers launch another drive, but the Lions fight fire with fire as Y.A. Tittle's toss is intercepted by Torgerson on the San Francisco 46. Breakaway back, Doak Walker takes a pitch out around left end for a 14-yard advance. Now the Lions go airborne with Lane heaving to Hunchy Horschmeyer, who's dragged down on the San Francisco 3-yard line. Horschmeyer picks up where he left off by plowing into and through the 49ers with a touchdown that recaptures a 17-14 edge for Detroit, and that's how it stands at halftime. The Lions break loose in the second half with a resounding roar as Lane passes complete to Leon Hart, and the hulky wingman eats up 36 yards for a Detroit touchdown. The Lions now lead 24-14. Doak Walker kicks off for the Lions. Joe Arenas gathers it in on the San Francisco 6, and away he goes. Arenas finds running room and races for 65 yards before being pulled down from behind on the Lions' 28. Quarterback Tittle engineers a 13-yard gain for San Francisco with a perfect pass to Bill Wilson. It's Tittle again engineering the attack, but this time on the ground as the versatile quarterback bootlegs the ball and just beats Detroit's Jim David to the goal line. The 49ers are back in the game, trailing by 24-21 at the end of the third quarter. In the final session, a pass by Detroit's Bobby Lane bounces out of Leon Hart's hands and into those of San Francisco's Fred Bruni, who battles his way down to the Lions' 22-yard line, giving the 49ers a golden opportunity. But the 49ers fail to capitalize on this break as Hugh McElhenney fumbles. The Lions recover to smother the 49ers' threat. Detroit takes over first place in the Western Conference with a thrilling 24-21 victory. The undefeated Detroit Lions, shooting for their second consecutive professional football championship, run into an obstacle that proves mighty hard to hurdle in the form of those explosive Los Angeles Rams. The game is barely underway when, to illustrate the point, Los Angeles halfback Fleet Skeet Quinlan scoots 34 yards deep into the land of the Lions. Norman Van Brocklin pegged perfectly to Elroy Hirsch on the Detroit 2, and the Rams are knocking on the end zone door. Fullback Tank Younger doesn't bother to open that door. He bangs right through it to give the underdog Rams a 7-0 lead over the world champion Detroit Lions. Now we're in the second period, and it's Detroit taking the offensive. Bobby Lane teams up with Doak Walker for a 27-yard gain. Shifty Bobby Lane is rushed to plenty on this pass, but it matters not, for he hits Husky Leon Hart, who takes the toss for a touchdown. On the conversion attempt, the Lions fail, so they still trail by 7-6. Later in the quarter, the Lions are forced to kick. Bob Smith's punt is taken by the Rams' Woodley Lewis. When Lewis runs smack into a den of Lions, he laterals to tackle Dwayne Putnam, who hurries like a halfback 40 yards to the Detroit 35. Now watch what perhaps is professional football's foremost passing combination. Norman Van Brocklin and Elroy Hirsch performed to perfection to give the Rams a 14-6 spread. Detroit attempts to close the gap via the air lanes. Los Angeles linebacker Don Paul intercepts the ball and starts the Lion to crying. Paul makes his way back across the midfield stripe and well into Lion land. Paul's interception leads to a field goal by Ben Agajanian. That makes it 17-6 Rams. Most unaccustomed to being behind, Detroit sets out to do something about it. A 40-yard pass, Lane to Hart, gives the Lions a fine start. But with both time and downs running out, Detroit settles for a 40-yard field goal by Doak Walker. At the end of a surprising first half, it's Los Angeles 17, Detroit 9. In the third quarter, the Lions are held at bay, so they punt to the Rams. Now watch closely and see if you can find one Lion so much as touch scatback Woodley Lewis. Lewis streaks through the entire Detroit team for 78 yards on as perfect a play as you'll ever see. This raises the Rams' lead to 24-9. Like true champions, the Lions lash back. Lane passes to Dorn Dibble on the Los Angeles 25. At this point, a keyed-up Ram defense butts the Lions head-on, so it's Doak Walker again delivering a three-pointer that makes it 24-12. This Detroit team is by no means out of it. For the next time they get the ball, Gene Gedman grabs a screen pass and carries it 24 yards to the Rams' 36. In the game at 24-19. It's the final quarter now, with the Lions still trying to pull the game out of the fire. Bobby Lane throws, but the flame grows as Norb Hecker intercepts the pass and carries it back to the Detroit 45. Now here's where the Rams put the game on ice. It's a 45-yard Van Brocklin to Bob Boyd touchdown pass. Detroit suffers its first setback and is tied for the top spot in the Western Conference with Los Angeles and San Francisco. With the Western Conference in a tight three-way tie involving Detroit, San Francisco, and Los Angeles, The Detroit Lions were determined to stay on top and banking on Bobby Lane to help them do it. The 49ers, spearheaded by the league's leading ground gainer, Joe the Jet Perry, were equally determined to stay out in front. The 49ers dig for touchdown goal right from the opening kickoff. Jimmy Powers hits Billy Wilson for a 16-yard pickup to the 49er 43. San Francisco stampedes to the Detroit 24 and keeps right on going with Hurricane Hugh McElhenney hustling around right end to put the 49ers on the Lion 15. Joe Perry, the pile-driving prospector, punches inside right end and mauls his way to a first down on the 2-yard line. Perry plunges for the score to cap an 80-yard drive from the opening kickoff, and San Francisco leads Detroit 7-0, a lead just still good as the first quarter ends. Early in the second quarter, it's the 49ers on the move again. A Powers pitch is pulled in by Gordy Saltaw to put the prospectors on their own 36. On the next play, it's Joe the Jet plunging through the Lion line and jolting the secondary with a 14-yard carry to midfield. On the Detroit 40, Perry finds another hole in the line and lopes to a first down on the Lion 26. Pushed back to the 34 by a penalty, McElhenney gets all of it back, and he takes a Powers pass and prances through the Lions to the 25. But there's still 6 yards to go for the first down, so Gordy Saltaw salvages the situation with a field goal that puts San Francisco on top of Detroit 10-0. Late in the second period, the Lions lash back as Lane lofts a sideline pass to Doak Walker, who fields it and steps out on the Detroit 42. Once more, Bobby Lane and Doak Walker hook up, and the 49ers are shook up as Detroit moves into 49er territory for the first time in the game. They don't stay there long, but plenty long enough. Tally, and at halftime, the score reads 49ers 10, Lions 7. After stalling a 49er threat on their own 9, the Lions hit the touchdown trail as Walker takes a Lane pass on his own 33. Lane puzzles the prospectors as he fakes a pass, then streaks through the line to pick up 18 to the 49er 49. On fourth down, another fake fools the 49ers. From punt formation, Yale Larry gets loose around left end for a dazzling 21-yard dash that's good for a first down on the San Francisco 24 as the third quarter ends. On the first play of the fourth quarter, Bobby Lane flips over the line to Ollie Klein, and Klein scampers the remaining distance to score for Detroit as they take over the lead. Lions 14, 49ers 10. Trailing by 4 points, San Francisco bounces back. On the first play after the kickoff, Hugh McElhenney takes a deep pitch out and cruises through the Lions for 19 yards to zone 41. Joe Perry gets the pigskin and pounds up the middle for a first down on the Detroit 41. From the 31, Jimmy Powers directs a spot pass over the middle. Billy Wilson is there to pull it in for a first down on the Lion 18. After a loss of 10, it's third and 19 to go, and Y.A. Tittle comes in to toss a long one. Joe Arenas awaits for it on the goal line, but Bob Smith leaps to intercept, and the 49ers bid fails. Although the Lions crossed midfield but twice in the game, they had the necessary scoring punch to edge San Francisco 14-10 and remain in a tie with the Rams for first place in the Western Conference. More than 93,000 fans, the largest crowd ever to witness a regular season National League football game, gathered in the smog-filled Los Angeles Coliseum to see the national champion Detroit Lions and the Los Angeles Rams fight it out for the Western Conference lead. As the two teams took the field, they were tied for the lead with 4 wins and 1 loss each. We pick up the action in the first quarter with the Lions leading 3-0 on a Doak Walker field goal. But the Rams are threatening as Norm Van Brocklin passes from the Lions 17. Watch in slow motion as Jack Christensen intercepts on the 8-yard line. He heads for the sidelines with the Rams in hot pursuit. But with Burley Sherwin-Gandy as an escort, no one can get near him, and Christensen lopes for 92 yards unmolested to score again for Detroit. Walker converts, and the Lions are on top 10-0 at the end of the first quarter. Early in the the second quarter, the Rams retaliate. Van Brocklin steps back and passes to V.T. Smith for a first down on the Detroit 21. The 59-yard drive reaches its climax as Van Brocklin hands off to Skeet Quinlan, who turns right end and heads for the corner of the end zone. He makes it into pay dirt. The conversion attempt fails, and the Rams trail Detroit 10-6. But the Rams aren't through. The next time they get the ball, Quinlan gets the call. A good block by the fullback gets him around end, and from there, Quinlan totes a total of 32 yards to the Lion 35. That's all the Lions will allow this trip, but Ben Agajanian has the answer to that as he boots a field goal to put the Rams within 1 point of Detroit, 10-9. Before the record throng can settle down, the Lions' Jug Gerard has it back on its feet. Jug takes Ben Agajanian's kickoff on his own goal line, comes up the middle of the field. Gene Gedman throws a key block, and Gerard cuts for the sidelines. At midfield, he cuts back, and his blockers race into position. Carries all the way to the 15 on a dazzling 85-yard run back. Things look tough for the Rams as Bobby Lane and Leon Hart hook up to convert the threat into a score, giving the Lions a comfortable 17-9 lead at halftime. But on the third play of the third quarter, the Rams get right back in the ball game. It's Skeet Quinlan having the greatest day in his career, sweeping that right end again, dodging and dancing through the Lions secondary, and loping all the way on a 74-yard scoring scamper that puts the Los Angeles team just 1 point down at 17-16. Later in the period, the Lions move into Ram territory. Lane passes, but it's the Rams' Don Paul making the grab. He laterals to halfback Woodley Lewis, and Lewis pulls out the throttle to streak 45 yards for the score as the Rams take the lead for the first time at 23-17. Once more, the Lions try to move on the arm of Bobby Lane. He lets go a 20-yard pass, but Jack Dwyer pilfers the pitch for the Rams, rips away from Doak Walker, then thunders down the sidelines. Alert blocking at the goal line opens the touchdown door, and Dwyer skips through as the Los Angeles lead lengthens to 30-17 over Detroit. In the fourth quarter, the Rams roll again as Van Brocklin hurls a towering aerial from his own 46. V.T. Smith is under it on the 15, wraps it up for a score. Detroit adds a last-minute touchdown to make it Los Angeles 37, Detroit 24, and the Rams take the Western Conference lead in the most spectacular game of the season.
And that was the halfway point of the season. And as a result of that second defeat by the Rams, well, Detroit's title chances were beginning to fade. They were now tied for second with the 49ers, and the Rams, with a 5-1 record, were flying along at the top of the National League. But I can remember Buddy Parker saying, if the Rams want to win the title, they'd better not lose another ball game. Well, he was a true prophet, as we'll see in a moment. Right now, a good friend of mine struts his stuff. Everyone's All-American, Rooster, the Goebel Rooster.
Cheer for Goebel, cheer for Goebel. You can bet that Brewster's out to win today. Cheer for Goebel, cheer for Goebel. Follow Brewster and you'll never miss a play. Now just before the kickoff, everybody on your toes. Get ready to cheer that wonderful beer. Everyone set, here goes. G-O-E-B-E-L. Goebel, Goebel, 22. Cheer for Goebel, cheer for Goebel. Cheer for Goebel when you want the finest brew. Cheer for Goebel, cheer for Goebel. You'll enjoy famous Goebel 22. It's truly all-American and always sure to score. When you want the best, remember Goebel costs no more. So call for Goebel 22.
A determined Packers squad came out to face the national champion Detroit Lions at Green Bay. The Packers were out to spoil Detroit's bid to take sole possession of first place in the Western Conference and almost succeeded. Neither team can score in the first period. In the second period, it's the Lions on the move from their own 20. Lane tosses to Leon Hart on an end around. The Packers try to pull Hart down, and he laterals to Jim Martin. But the whistle is sounded, and the play loses 3 yards. On the next play, Bobby Lane gets the Lions out of the hole and onto the scoreboard. He hoists a long pass upfield. Doak Walker pulls it in on his own 47, and there's not a Packer in the picture as he lopes the remaining 53 yards for a Detroit touchdown on a play that covered 83 yards, putting the Lions in front 7-0. Near the end of the second quarter, the Packers get a threat going. Halfback Floyd Reed picks his way through the Lion line and dodges the secondary for 29 yards to the Detroit 38. Two Pirelli passes carried to the 24, and the Babe goes back to try again. Bill Houghton has it on the 12. He fumbles. Laverne Torgerson recovers for the Lions to halt the threat, and at halftime, Detroit still leads 7-0. The third period is a standoff, but on the first play of the fourth, a Pirelli pass goes astray as Detroit's Jack Christensen shortstops it to gallop to the Packer 13. Clipping is called on the Lions, but they have the ball on the Packer 31. Bobby Lane swings into action for Detroit with a 10-yard toss to Dorn Dibble that puts the Lions on the Green Bay 21. On the next play, Lane again fades to pass, but spots a hole and streaks through to rack up a Detroit first down on the Packer 10. Packers push the Lions back a yard. Then as Gene Gedman takes the ball and tries to get around left end, the whole Green Bay forward wall breaks through to nail him for a 12-yard loss to the Packer 23. That leaves it up to Bobby Lane. Lane looks and spots the giant form of Leon Hart in the end zone. Ben Aldridge gets a hand on the ball, but Hart makes a shoestring catch for the touchdown, and the Lions lead the Packers 14-0. Green Bay strikes back after the kickoff. Tobin Rote, operating from the spread formation, gets it to pass. His receivers are covered, so Rote elects to tote the ball and drives for 9 yards to his own 40. From the 48, Rote again gets a direct pass from center, again gets set to pass. This time he lets go a long one. Al Carmichael stretches for it, hauls it in, and barrels all the way to the Detroit 4 as the Packers threaten. On second down, Floyd Reed burrows into the Lions' den to score for Green Bay. Now it's Lions 14, Packers 7 in the fourth quarter. After a Detroit punt, Green Bay bids to even the score. From the Lion 32, Tobin Rote fires a strike to Bill Houghton, who gallops down to the 7-yard line, where it's goal to go for the Packers. On the next play, Rote elects to stick to the airways. He passes into the end zone, but it's Detroit's Yale Larry making the grab, his third interception of the day, and the Lions defeat the Packers 14-7 to take over sole possession of the top spot in the Western Conference. 36,000 turned out to watch the Western Conference leaders, the Detroit Lions, battle the aroused Bears of George Halas. First period action finds Chicago's George Blanda connecting with an 8-yard aerial to Johnny Hoffman to put the Bears on the Detroit 38. But the Lions refuse to budge any further, so George Blanda steps back to attempt a field goal. The ball is up. It's good, and the Bears take a 3-0 lead. Later in the period, the Lions battle back. Bobby Lane bursts over center and down to the Chicago 22. From there, Lane fades and fires complete to his big end, Leon Hart, to put the ball on the Bears' 6-yard stripe. When 3 plays fail to gain, Doak Walker toes home a perfect 3-pointer to knot the count at 3 apiece. On the last play of the quarter, Detroit's on the move, but Bob Smith fumbles, an alert Bear recovers, and Chicago takes over on the Detroit 40. Blanda immediately swings into action by rifling an aerial to Johnny Hoffman, who carries to the Detroit 15. Ed Macon completes the scoring thrust by swinging wide around right end. Cutting back, the fast-stepping halfback races into the end zone, and the Bears forge into the lead, 9-3. Near the end of the half, pitching Bobby Lane connects to end Jim Duran for a first down on the Bear 18. Using the short pass to good advantage, Lane fires over the middle to Hunchy Horschmeyer, who carries to the 10. Jug Gerard makes it first and goal to go by sweeping right end for 6 yards to the 4. From the 2, Horschmeyer plunges over to end the 66-yard march and shoot the Lions into a 1-pass. In the third quarter, the Bears come back strong. From his own 45, Blanda tosses to Bill McCall, who grabs the pitch, squeezes through 3 Lion defenders, and he's off on a 55-yard touchdown gallop that puts the Bears ahead 16-10. Snapping right back, the Lions drive goalward. Lane pitches out to Doak Walker. Circling wide around end, the Doker takes off down the sidelines on a 16-yard excursion to the Bears' 34. Walker again keeps the drive going by pulling in Lane's pass for a 1st and 10 on the 22. Lane once more looks for a receiver. Finding no one open, he lights out on his own for a 3-yard pickup to the 19. The Bears, however, stop the march cold, so Doak Walker boots a 26-yard field goal to cut the Bears' lead 16-13 after 3 quarters of play. In the final frame, the Bears are deep in their own territory. Blanda attempts to pass out, but Detroit's Bob Smith intercepts to give the Lions another scoring chance. After moving to the 1, Doak Walker sweeps wide around end and into the end zone to give the Lions a 20-16 triumph, and the Detroiters cling to their first place spot in the race for the Western Division title. In the only professional football game on Thanksgiving Day, it's Detroit Lions versus the Green Bay Packers at Briggs Stadium in the Motor City. The Lions have a very slim hold on first place, and a win here may prove the key to the Western Division title. With the game not a minute old, the Packers' Vito Babe Pirelli tries a pass from his own 38. There's a bit of a mix-up downfield, and when the picture clears, we find Detroit's Joe Schmidt with the ball, and it's first down for the Lions on the Green Bay 33. Bobby Lane fools the Packer defense on a quarterback sneak that takes the Lions to the 14-yard line. 2 plays later, Lane hits big Leon Hart with a spot pass, and Detroit is touchdown bound from the 3. Hunchy Horschmeyer takes the handoff, gets perfect blocking, and registers the first score of the game. The Packers bounce right back with a field goal to make it 7-3 and appear to be on the march again as they recover a Lion fumble on the Detroit 35. Vito Babe Pirelli and Carlton Elliott play toss and catch for a first down on the 18. On third down, Pirelli picks out Bobby Mann on the 3. Mann makes a nice catch and by 1 step gets the 6 points that puts the Packers ahead by 9-7. On the Detroit 26, as a result of a bad Lion punt, the Packers are on their way again. This time, Floyd Reed proves a tough man to bring down as he makes it to the 5. First and goal to go. Now it's Pirelli's turn to cross up the defense. On a keep play, he hits the pay dirt patch for the score. The conversion attempt is blocked, and right through the halftime intermission, it remains 15-7 with Green Bay on top. Early in the third period, the Packers are threatening from the Lions' 15. Pirelli about to be tackled, laterals to Al Carmichael. Carmichael is hit hard, fumbles, Jim Kane recovers for Detroit, and the Green Bay threat is halted. Here comes one of the most perfect pass plays we've seen this season. Lane's long pass is taken by Cloyce Box at midfield, and Box races to the end zone for the touchdown. The play covered 97 yards and puts Detroit within 1 point of the Packers, 15-14. Fumbles and interceptions seem to be the mode of the day. Babe Pirelli takes to the air from his own 40, but burly Lester Bigeman pilfers the pass, and Detroit is in Green Bay territory with a first down. 2 plays later, Unchy Horschmeyer takes the pitch out from Lane, heads for the right sideline, pours a few more coals on the front burner, and away he goes. Jimmy Martin kicks the extra point to put Detroit back in the lead at the end of the third quarter, 21-15 over the Green Bay Packers. The Lions open up in the last period with a field goal and get another good break as Jimmy Doran recovers a Pirelli fumble on the Packer 39. After 2 passes and a penalty, the Lions go to the 18 where Horschmeyer takes over and picks up 14 yards, and it's goal to go from 3 yards out. Gene Gedman has been playing a good game today and highlights his afternoon's efforts by scooting into the promised land for the tally. The Lions increase their lead to 31-15 over the Packers. With fresh troops in the lineup, the Lions are on the go again. R.L. Smith, a newcomer in the backfield, breaks loose for a 30-yard run that puts Detroit in scoring position on the Packer 22. A stubborn Packer defense and a determined Lion offense. So when it comes to 4th down, Jimmy Martin makes good a 25-yard field goal that brings to a climax the day's scoring. This 34-15 victory over the Green Bay Packers helps the Detroit Lions get a stronger hold on first place in the Western Division. Pre-game comedy antics help ease the tension for 58,000 fans at Briggs Stadium in Detroit. This is a big one for the Lions, for a win over the unpredictable Chicago Bears will keep them on top in the running for the Western Division title. Midway through the first period, it's the Lions' Bobby Lane fading back to his 2-yard line before getting away a long pass to Leon Hart. The former Notre Dame great is caught at midfield, but keeps the play alive as he laterals to Doak Walker. Walker is finally stopped on the Bears' 36 for a 54-yard advance. 3 downs fail to produce the necessary yardage, so it's Doak Walker attempting a 40-yard field goal. It's good, and the Detroit Lions hold a 3-0 lead over the Chicago Bears in the first quarter. As the second quarter opens, the Lions have the ball on the Bear 38 after a Chicago punt. Bobby Lane pulls the cork on a 38-yard pass play to Doran Dibble that boosts the Lions' lead to 10-0 over Chicago. Late in the quarter, the Bears put on a sustained drive that takes them into Lion land. A cute play that goes Blanda to Dooley, then back to Blanda makes it a first down for the Bears on the Detroit 37. On the next play, George Blanda runs into a bit of trouble as he tries to pass. After fading back to the 50, he finally gets one off that goes astray and into the arms of Detroit's Jimmy Martin. Martin immediately laterals to Bobby Smith, who walks the tightrope down the sideline for a 50-yard return to the Bears' 20. Let's call this mystery the case of the loose pigskin. Everybody gets a shot at recovering Bobby Lane's fumble, but it's number 51, Vince Bononis, who finally recaptures the ball for the Lions. It's only second down, but the half is almost over, so the Lions capitalize on their position and pick up 3 points on a 40-yard field goal by Doak Walker. Halftime score, Detroit 13, Chicago nothing. After a scoreless third period, the Bears appear to be on the move in the last quarter. George Blanda fires far and true to the mark as Dick Hensley hauls in the leather for a 46-yard gain. Chicago is threatening from 15 yards out. Here's the turning point of the game. Then from his own 27, Bobby Lane tries to get another Detroit attack underway. The venture is nipped in the bud as Jerry Weatherly intercepts, and the Bears get a first down on the Lions' 22. Tom O'Connell comes in at quarterback for the Bears and starts right off with a perfect pitch to Billy Stone that's worth 10 yards. Tom O'Connell picks Eddie Macon as his receiver. The choice is the right one, for Macon makes it across the final stripe for the Bears' only touchdown of the afternoon. The clock runs out with the final score reading, Detroit 13, Chicago 7. The Lions now can do no worse than tie for the Western Division title. Next week will tell the tale. The Detroit Lions, professional football's defending world champions, need a victory against the New York Giants to clinch another Western Conference crown and the right to defend their championship against the Cleveland Browns. We pick up the action in the first quarter with the Lions leading 7-0. But here the Giants jump right back into the thick of things on a 51-yard scoring pass from Charlie Connerly to Frank Gifford that knots the count at 7-all. On the first play of the second period, Detroit's Doak Walker turns what looks like a snafu play into a snappy 14-yard advance. Quarterback Bobby Lane back on top at 14-7 at halftime. Hunchy Horschmeyer opens the third quarter for the Lions by grinding out an 8-yard gain. Doak Walker, the mighty Mustang from SMU, carries the ball for Detroit. The dapper Doker dazzles the crowd with a dandy 50-yard scamper that no one can hamper. Walker scores, and Detroit leads 20-7. The New Yorkers would like the game as a going-away present for their retiring coach, Steve Owen. Eddie Price takes a Connerly pass down to the Detroit 40. Operating from Owen's A formation, Connerly fades and flips to Ray Pelfrey for a 13-yard pickup, and New York is knocking on the goal line door at the end of the third quarter. Connerly passes the Giants 8 yards closer to touchdown territory with a toss to Buford Long. Razzle-dazzle football fools Detroit. Frank Gifford takes a pitch out, then throws a jump pass to Ray Pelfrey, who makes a remarkable catch for a touchdown. The Giants narrow Detroit's lead to 20-14. A few minutes later, the Giants are grounding goalward again. Gifford gallops 12 yards to the Detroit 35. As far as the Lions are concerned, Frank Gifford spells nothing but trouble for them, and they get more of it here as Gifford shags Connerly's heave and carries to the Detroit 6 for a 24-yard gain. Now it's 4th and goal to go from the 1-yard line. The Giants give the ball to Gifford, but he's piled up at the line of scrimmage on a magnificent goal line stand by Detroit. The Lions play safe to avoid the possibility of a blocked kick or fumble by giving the Giants 2 points on a safety. Gene Gedman deliberately steps out of the end zone. Detroit still leads 20-16. The Giants have the ball, and a touchdown will win the game. Connerly lets go a long one. It's intercepted. Detroit's Bob Smith picks up blockers and carries all the way to the New York 5-yard line. Ball out beats New York 27-16 to again become champions of the Western Conference.
So the Detroit Lions were champions of the Western Division of the National Football League again. And close, come-from-behind football was a familiar sight to thousands of Lions rooters. Just as the familiar timeout signal is the signal to so many fans that it's time for a big glass of cool, frosty, inviting Goebel beer. They know if it's Goebel, it's good. That Goebel 22 helps to make any moment of relaxation a more pleasant, more refreshing one. And now it's the big one. The blue chip game for the world's professional football championship. The Browns had come through with a tremendous season, losing only once to the Philadelphia Eagles in their last regular season game. Otto Graham had his greatest year, and the Browns were immediately installed as the favorites. So let's go back to the action now. The climax of the 1953 season. The most dramatic football game I've ever seen played at Briggs Stadium. Here are the Cleveland Browns warming up at Briggs Stadium prior to the start of the championship football game. Now here are the world champion Detroit Lions, who are today defending their title. Early in the opening quarter, Cleveland's Otto Graham fades to pass. He's hit by Joe Schmidt and fumbles. Detroit's Les Bingaman dives on the ball on Cleveland's 12-yard line, and the Lions get the first break of the ball game. On the next play, halfback Gene Gedman drives outside his left tackle on a cross buck that's good for 7 yards. The Lions take advantage of the game's first break as halfback Doak Walker bangs into the end zone from 2 yards out with the first score of the game. Adding the extra point, the Lions lead the Browns 7-0. Late in the quarter, Detroit's Hunchy Hornschmeyer fumbles a handoff, and Cleveland's Len Ford recovers on the Detroit 6-yard line as the first quarter comes to an end. The Lions hold, so on 4th down, Lou the Toe Groza attempts a field goal from the 13-yard line. It's good, and Cleveland narrows the Detroit lead to 7-3. It's late in the second quarter, and Cleveland's Otto Graham fades to pass on 3rd down from his own 46. After bouncing off the hands of Ken Carpenter, the leather is intercepted by Detroit's Jim David, who rolls for 36 yards before being upended on the Cleveland 20. Here's the most disputed play of the game. Bobby Lane pitches out to Doak Walker. Walker runs wide, then fires back to Lane, who grabs the ball on the 19 and scurries for an apparent touchdown. But the officials ruled that Lane, as a T-formation quarterback, was an ineligible receiver, and the TD was nullified. The Cleveland defense stiffens, so on 4th down from the 23, Doak Walker tries a field goal. The Dokers try is letter perfect, and the score at halftime, Detroit 10, Cleveland 3. The Browns start to roll in the 3rd quarter. From the Detroit 49, Otto Graham pitches complete to Billy Reynolds for 7 yards and a first down on the enemy 42. Moving in high gear now, Cleveland's Graham carries over left tackle to the 20, where he laterals to Ken Carpenter. And the play is good for 16 yards, making it goal to go for Cleveland on the Detroit 9-yard line. The Cleveland team is fired up. Fullback Harry Jugady romps through the Lions for 9 yards and a touchdown. Lou Groza's subsequent conversion notched the count at 10-10. It's late in the 3rd quarter, and the Browns are again on the go. Dub Jones drives through an ice hole for 17 yards and a first down on the Detroit 23. Harry Jugady, Cleveland's most devastating ground gainer, digs for 13 more yards. And the Browns bid to break the 10-10 stalemate as the 3rd quarter ends. The Lions brace at the outset of the final quarter, and Cleveland's Lou Groza attempts a 15-yard field goal. It's good, and Cleveland leads for the first time in the game 13-10. Lions are unable to get going, so the Browns take over and try to add some insurance to their 3-point lead. Harry Jugady carries them 30 yards closer to touchdown territory as he romps for a first down on the Detroit 39. Cleveland is stopped cold at the Detroit 35, where automatic Lou Groza steps back to the Detroit 43 and boots. It's good, as Groza's 3rd field goal of the day ties the championship game record. The Browns lead 16-10. Now it's the Lions' ball, 1st and 10 on their own 20-yard line with 4:58 to play, and Bobby Lane's passing to Jim Doran for 17 yards to the Detroit 37. 2 Lane passes fall incomplete, but on 3rd down, the cool Lion quarterback comes through with a 13-yard heave to Jim Doran. With less than 3 minutes to play, the Lions are threatening. The Lions drive to the Cleveland 33. Then Bobby Lane decides to go for the jackpot. He has a man open. It's Jim Doran. He grabs it for a sensational touchdown. And pandemonium breaks loose in Briggs Stadium as Detroit ties the game at 16-16. With the outcome hanging in the balance, Detroit's Doak Walker attempts the extra point. His effort is letter perfect, and the Never Say Die Lions forge into a 17-16 lead. Moments later, the game ends with the Detroit Lions successfully defending their title of world champions of professional football by turning back the Cleveland Browns in a thrilling, hard-fought 17-16 battle. And that's it for the season, fans. The Lions reign as champions of professional football for the 2nd consecutive season. These film highlights have been presented by the Goebel Brewing Company, brewers of Goebel 22, America's flavor champion year after year after year. And in closing this film action, I'd like to remind you that no other American beer can match Goebel's great record in international beer competition. 11 top awards in 3 years. Now this is your Goebel reporter, Van Patrick, saying so long, and if it's Goebel, it's good.